Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So for today's video we have extremely interesting alliance war against ISO8A. So they are close competitors of us and this war was really intense. And to start off, I'm on path 4 in section 1, which is fairly kind of like standard path for me. I do it majority of the wars, and as always you start off with domino on spite and on unstoppable and on limber and all sorts of fun stuff. So we are going to be using Quake against her, as we typically do, because with Black Widow synergy, we don't get crit fails on our evades or pretty much anything else we do. Therefore, not only we do not take any fun and interactive damage, we are able to actually evade her with 100% accuracy, and we don't have too much to worry about. And in that case, this fight actually becomes quite easy. Now, you do need to be careful not to trigger dexterity on yourself, otherwise that spite will make your life a lot more difficult, so we do need to play careful, and that's about it. So basically we just trying our hardest not to trigger dexterity, so we evade, then block or try to parry if those hits are not projectiles. And as we can see, 40 seconds in the fight, the domino is pretty much down. I am not running any suicides, but I have a max attack boost and a medium champion boost, I believe, or something of the sorts. But yeah, at this point we can see that we're nearly done, but we do eat a heavy attack, and unfortunately it crit, so we got wrecked for 10k in a heavy attack. A small mistake, but overall fairly good fight, not much to complain in there. And then the next opponent is going to be the Nick Fury. Now this is going to be some Nick on Nick action, because this guy has aspect of war, spite and all sorts of crazy stuff, and quite often the simplest solution might turn out to be the best one. And in this case I'm simply going to deal as much damage as I can. We'll let him pretty much kill me off, and then we're just going to finish him off quickly. So this fight, often people die to it because they start to play too defensive, they have spite on them, they try to bait out the special attacks and so on and so forth. And quite often basically only thing you want to do is take in a high damage dealing champion, and that's about it. Just push opponent 3 bars of power. If you're not using Nick Fury, for instance, you can also simply use Indestructible 3 boost and eat a couple of level 3s. It obviously depends who is on here, but the key to success here is just try and kill the opponent as quickly as possible, so you don't have to deal with them while they are unblockable, which makes it a lot harder. And here you can see that I just try to block bait the heavy attacks and push him. At this point he's already at 3 bars of power, but I do get quite lucky that he doesn't throw it. But even if he did throw it, it would simply kind of kill me, and then I'd be pretty much set to retaliate, and if I get a single combo in, the fight would be mine regardless. So here again, we can see that he's only at 8% health, has a bleed on him. Now he does throw his level 3 finally, but it's not too big of a deal. And here's the thing, I kind of wanted my Nick Fury to be dead to begin with, because the only other fight I do intend to use Nick Fury is going to be against Invisible Woman as a boss. So at this point I just dropped my level 1 there in his block, but that gave me enough charges to go unblockable, and I simply ran in, hit him once, fight over. And yeah, just like that, super easy, not much to worry about. Now the next fights are already in the next day, quite much later in the day, and we're going to be finishing off all of our fights now in one go. So I'm boosting properly, because I do have some fairly tricky fights, plus I'm going to do a bunch of mini bosses and stuff. So yeah, I'm applying my max boosts, because it is a close war, it's neck and neck at this point. And here I also will use invulnerability boost just to be extra sure, just because the war was so close. Typically I would not bother with this in destructibility and vulnerability boost in here, but this time I wanted to make sure there are no surprises. And we're taking in Quake against empowered immunity and encroaching stun thing. Now Quake can play around encroaching stun if you happen to be charging your heavy attack, and if opponent has concussion on at the time your timer would expire. Now it is not always kind of like the easiest thing to do, so you might end up eating like a combo. Sometimes that stun will get you. However, we did manage to get a first timer timed out well. So we did not get stunned there. We can see that the thing is going down fairly quickly, and not too much worries over there. Another set of aftershock charges kick in, and now we just need to make sure we can parry him and get back to charging heavy attack before the timer expires. Another thing you'll notice, I do use a lot of parries in this fight, just because that lets me maximize the time I can place concussions, aftershocks on opponent, and that basically gives me more stun time, and I can have statistically larger chance to be concussing opponent at a time encroaching stun would expire. So there is the thing that sometimes it is much more beneficial to just go old school and do parry heavy. Now somebody else did take down that empowered immunity Emma Frost for me, just because I didn't have the best champions for that fight, and we did have like a spare backup, so why not? I mean, I could have tried to fight that fight with Quake through, and instead of quaking the Emma Frost, I could have just fought with her normally, but that definitely doesn't smell like the best fight strategy. And now Wasp. Now Wasp is on a very big buffer node, so I do have to be careful not to trigger multiple dexterities. It means I do not want to hit her under any circumstances, pretty much. I do make a mistake there. I just don't know how did that slip happened, and I pretty much eat a combo. However, we still are above 50% health, so I don't feel too threatened at this point, and Wasp has a relatively small health pool, therefore we can see that she's just melting away from whatever I'm doing. And yeah, I have been making a few more mistakes with Quake recently. It's probably kind of to do with me more so than anything else, but hey, Quake still does the job, and I have no reason not to trust her. And now we are going to be moving up for the last set of fights. Now, I did not do that Warlock. I was perfectly happy to do it, but my alliance mate said just save the fight, basically. And that's fine. Now we're going to be tackling on all three mini-bosses on the right side. It is something I do fairly frequently, just because all three of them normally go down fairly quickly if you bring Quake. And yeah, so the first one is counter tactics, stun immunity, some other yada yada yada. We don't particularly care about counter tactics, just because you're never going to be striking the opponent. Stun immunity, it can be annoying, but not because it's much harder to Quake if opponents are stun immune. It's sometimes annoying if opponent's AI is aggressive. You do not get to place many aftershock charges. Like we can see now, I got to 11, but there will be times when I only manage to place like 7, 8 aftershock charges on opponent, just because he doesn't let go. If AI is aggressive, then your damage output goes down quite drastically compared to times when they'll let you place 15, 16 to 20 aftershock charges occasionally. So when you do play with Quake, you do need to keep that in mind, that aggressive AI can drastically lower your damage output. And we can definitely see that the pace opponents going down is much slower as well. A minute in the fight, he's still at 61%, now 51%, so yeah. We're not taking him down as quickly as we did our previous opponents. However, so long as we're managing to stay in the control of the fight, there's nothing much to worry about. Now there, I was a bit worried because I let go of my heavy, and that was a mistake. He could have caught me. Luckily, I clipped him, and that was just pure luck. That wasn't planned or skill or anything of the sort. I did make a mistake. I could have been punished. I didn't get punished, so it worked out, and we got some extra damage in. But yeah, other than that, the fight is well under control. We have a minute and 20 seconds left in the fight. He's at 20%. And we just need to basically finish off the last couple of sets of aftershock charges, so 12% there now. But you can see that he's extremely aggressive. Like last set, I only managed to get 7 aftershocks on him. Now this one, I managed to place 11, which should be thereabouts enough, but it isn't, so I need to wait out for another set. This is like one of the few fights that goes longer than 2 minutes with Quake in AW. But hey, I didn't have suicides on, so there's that as well. And now next fight is going to be the Sabertooth, the recovery Sabertooth, the strike back and whatsoever. Once again, we're going to Quake him, so we don't care what kind of recovery he has, because we're not going to be hitting him. That means he's not going to be getting any regen. He has strike back, who cares? We're not going to be launching special attacks, so he's not going to be getting any power. And he's not stun immune, so that makes for a fairly easy fight. There isn't even a limber on that node, as far as I'm aware. I might be wrong, but I don't think there is one anyways. And yeah, it's quite easy. And here we can see that there is a drastic change in damage output with Quake, as we managed to get 17, 18 aftershocks on. So he's going down a lot quicker. Couple sets of charges off. We can see that he's already at 60% health in 40 seconds. So we will be able to finish this fight a lot faster compared to Corvus fight. And yeah, the fact that they get stunned and that gives me more time to place aftershock charges definitely also helps. But it's still also the AI kind of like might not be as aggressive now. I did make a small mistake there. I did get cleared by the third hit of heavy attack. I thought I did get my heavy off in time and I should have avoided it, but apparently not. Not a big deal though. And so there we go, 23%, minute and 45 seconds left in the fight, and Quake is about to finish it off. He's at like 10%, so one more set of aftershock charges and we're going to be in the clear. Now I will have some boss action, so definitely stay tuned for that one. That's going to be a really cool kind of thing. Well, I mean, I always like fighting the bosses. But before the boss, we do have a last mini boss that I will be taking, and that's going to be Mysterio. Now Mysterio can be an annoying opponent. Now that I just checked if I'm still recording a couple of times, because my phone recently has basically ruined quite a lot of videos for me, just because sometimes it seems like I'm recording, but I'm not. I don't know. The new iOS is weird. Anyways, so fully immune, energy resistance, critical resistance, Mysterio. Now, Mysterio can be fairly annoying defender just because you cannot punish his special attacks. If you go in after his special 1, you will get damage dealt back to you. If you go in after his special 2, you have a chance to miss and eat a combo in the face. So that alone is pretty much enough to make a defender fairly annoying, especially if he's like stun immune and it's not that easy to find openings against him. But luckily he doesn't really have anything else that makes him too troublesome, and Quake doesn't care if you can't punish somebody's special attacks, so that's another win column there for Quake, because he's not going to throw special attacks, we're just going to stay in corner. Obviously he's stun immune, so the evades will have to be fairly rapid, and I do have to be on point when I'm playing against this guy, because yeah, we will get no breaks, and depending on how aggressive the AI is, it can get slightly tiresome. Typically when I use Quake for prolonged periods of time, I do feel fatigue in my hands, and it occasionally does feel like here, for instance, I didn't end up dexing, I just took a hit in a block, which as far as I'm concerned is a fairly big mistake, because there are fights where you really can't afford to take hits in a block. But regardless, minute and 20 seconds in, he's at 20%, so he doesn't really seem to be having all that much health. And minute and a half, last 4%, we're nearly there. So you just need to basically survive the last 4 seconds or so. And there we go. He goes down, minute and 25 left on a timer. A super easy fight. Not much to stress over there when you're using Quake. And now we have the final boss. Now, final boss is obviously Invisible Woman in this case, and therefore she is a really good food for Nick Fury. Now, I did already kill off my life model decoy in the fight against, you guessed it, Nick Fury, and therefore I will use special start 1 boost. Now I did put on a skill power boost as well, but that definitely wasn't needed. And the reason I'm using special 1-star boost in this case is because typically if you use Nick Fury against an Invisible Woman, you kind of have to kill off your life model decoy, and therefore you can gain power just by doing that. Now, since my life model decoy is already dead, I wanted to make sure that I can get to my level 1 pretty much immediately, and that I don't have any risk of missing my attacks whatsoever. Now, people might think that it is risky to play Nick Fury on 30% health and all that stuff, but the reality is that he has fairly good block proficiency, and the fast speed he kills an Invisible Woman lets you play safe in the term of just simply block baiting heavy attacks or blocking some special attacks if you don't feel too kind of confident evading everything, just taking as little risk as you can. And also the debuff she places on you give you a lot of willpower heal, so it all works out. Super easy fight, less than a minute, we're going to be over, and that is going to be it for the war. Unfortunately, we lost the war. However, we still remain in a fairly decent standing when it comes to the season. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the buttons, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya.